Granny wants some lovin'. X, released in 2022 and is directed by Ty West, who is also behind such films like The House of the Devil, The Innkeepers, The Sacrament, and the prequel movie that came out a couple of weeks ago to this film, Pearl. And this film is starring Mia Goth, Jenna Ortega, Martin Henderson, Brittany Snow, Owen Campbell, Stephen Ure, and Scott Mescudi. The year is 1979, and this small group of hooligans have rented a shack on this old couple's rundown property so that they can shoot a porno. The trouble, though, is while they are shooting their special scenes, the old lady landlord in the house is getting super jealous because, like I said, Grandma wants some lovin', and it's getting to the point where Granny is watching all of these young people have all this sex in this cabin, and she's getting super jealous, so she takes out all of her sexual frustrations out on them, not with sex, but with, like, knives to the throat. I have to say, it was a ton of fun watching this movie with my wife, because the entire time she kept parroting the song from A Very Merry Christmas, Santa Claus Wants Some Lovin', and she just changed the words out to Granny Claus Wants Some Lovin'. So every 5 minutes I just hear from her the George Clooney part. Santa Claus wants some lovin'. Granny Claus wants some lovin'. Santa Claus wants some lovin'. Which is the best summary of this movie and should have been the tagline of this movie. It should have been X, Granny Claus wants some lovin'. It's a movie about getting old and the things that we lose when we get old. We lose the capability of, I guess, having sex, or at least having, you know, some energy behind it. When you're young, you're vigorous, and you can go on for a long time. The older you get, though, you know, you're hot and stuff. Have a nice fun minute or so. I guess we also lose, as we get older, the ability to moisturize and to take care of our skin, because, yeah. The movie is a love letter to a bunch of previous slasher films that have come before it. Friday the 13th is a big one. You got a lot of young people in there having sex and stuff, and our little monster is not loving watching a bunch of young people have sex. So, I mean, that concept is adapted right into the core of this movie. I guess also Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is a horror film that I haven't seen yet. From what I hear, there's a rundown house in the middle of the Texas countryside, and there are a bunch of weirdos that live in it. So, again, it's the same thing here. Really, I feel if you've seen a lot of slasher horror films, in my opinion, you have seen this movie before. It is a love letter to them. It is an ode to them. So if that's the type of thing that you like, then I think you're going to like this movie. For me, it was a nice solid like. I thought it was entertaining, and I thought the concept of it, of having this old couple get really jealous of seeing these younger people in their midst, in their world, and having a whole bunch of sex, something that this old couple wants to desperately have with each other because they're madly in love with each other. Just when you get old, you can't do the same things that you did before. Or can you? They have a lot of drugs and pills on the market nowadays. And that's a great segue to the sponsor of this video, Viagra. I'm kidding, they're not sponsoring. I got no sponsors for this channel, but I mean, if Viagra wanted to call me, or Blue Chew, if you want to hook me up with some sponsorship and some free samples, I'll take it. Scott Mescudi, who plays the lead star, the male star of this pornographic film that is being shot, I actually liked him the most out of this entire movie. I liked his character. He seemed very confident in himself. It felt like this character actually went to therapy. He said that he was in Vietnam. I almost said Vietnam, but Vietnam. So coming back, it definitely feels like he was saying a bunch of therapy phrases, I guess, and I was like, you got your shit together. I appreciate you, sir. You have confidence about you, and I like you. I think Brittany Snow does a great job of playing up the annoying character of a slasher film who is always, you know, ready to go and is always horny. Typically the first to go in the horror tropes. Shockingly, though, she lasts a very long time in this movie, so I like kind of the breaking of that trope a little bit here. Martin Henderson, or as I kept saying throughout the entire film, I guess not Matthew McConaughey or not Kurt Russell, and them not having a child and spitting you out, sir. There are moments where he's walking, where you see his silhouette, and you're like, oh, you're Matthew McConaughey, alright. And Mia Goth, who seems to be the lead of this entire franchise, because I guess there's going to be another sequel to this franchise called Maxine, with the X's having 3 X's, saying that she eventually becomes the famous porn star that she always wants to be. She wasn't really my favorite of the cast. She wasn't standing out that much. But then I realized that not only does she play our young protagonist, but she also plays the old lady murderer too. And I guess I was a little disappointed with that. I wish we actually had an actress who was of that age in her 80s or 90s playing this character, as opposed to someone who is in their 20s or 30s playing at being old. If, for those of you that have been to acting school, you know what I mean by playing at being old. It was a big letdown for me, and I thought it was very cheap. I was like, oh, I wish it would have been actual old people playing the old people in this movie. Oh, whatever. I feel like I was cheated with that, so yeah, not too happy with that aspect and that casting choice. If you're into slasher films, if you love all the classic slasher horror film tropes, you are going to like this movie. I think it was just fine. It's a nice love letter to all of those films. It's a nice breath of fresh air too, seeing a new horror franchise get its start and seeing a whole bunch of other films coming out from this studio. A24 is one of the best studios working today. I'm very interested to see what comes next, and I hope they keep going with this thing. I'm gonna give X 3 out of 5 Blu-rays.
Not exactly what I had in mind, but not bad.
So guys, if you've seen X, what did you think about it? Or if you've never seen it before and you stumbled across it because of this video, then comment below, let me know what you thought about it. And as always, if you like what you see here, if you like my take on movies, then hit the subscribe button and make sure you hit that bell. See you the next time I release next movie review. So guys, I will see you next time on the channel, but in the meantime, be well, be good to each other, and go watch a movie. Take care, guys.